Thank you for listening to this podcast from TRE, Talk Radio Europe, your voice in Spain and around the world. For more information, please visit tre.radio.
TRE in the afternoon. Presented by Hannah Murray.
Good afternoon. It's just coming up to 5:10 and you're listening to Women Talk. With me in the studio today is Janet Barnett, Beverly Stone-Hewer and Natalie Dowd. Hello.
Hello, Hannah.
Thank you all for coming in. If you are listening at home and you'd like to get involved, you absolutely can. Here's how.
To contact TRE, please call 952 78 4000. Email studio@tre.radio. Send us a WhatsApp on +34 645 99 67 95.
What a beautiful day, it's a wonderful life.
Okay, we're going to start by talking about food, takeaway food. Do they have Deliveroo over here? I know they've got Glovo. Have they got Deliveroo?
I'm not sure. Not seen it, but
no.
Just
okay, so it's a similar Deliveroo, Glovo, similar kind of thing, a delivery service. This article says the likes of curry and pizza usually spring to mind when ordering a takeaway, but it turns out that lots of the country are instead choosing salads, cucumbers and even bananas for a quick food fix. This is according to Deliveroo. The online delivery service has published its 10 top trending items of the year. Chicken wings is the most popular, followed by a Caesar salad from a particular place, followed by another Caesar salad from a particular place, followed by a whole cucumber from Waitrose, London, followed by pepperoni pizza, followed by jerk chicken and chips, then a build-your-own poke bowl, then charred harissa chicken, then bananas from Sainsbury's, and finally white wine from Co-op. So you can obviously order pretty much anything, it seems. It's not just about ordering a meal. I don't know, takeaway. Are you takeaway people? Is it no?
I'd love to be, but Jamie doesn't like curry, he doesn't care for waiting, and because we live quite remotely, it's a bit of a nuisance. I often think, I'd love to be a takeaway person. I dream about them at night.
Oh, really?
Oh, but not a cucumber.
Would you be a salad and cucumber?
Definitely not.
No. At least that wouldn't get cold on the journey.
That's true.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
Well, I was in London the week before last, strangely enough, going to Waitrose on a Saturday morning in South London.
Yeah. Did you get your cucumber?
No.
Okay.
But it was a fight to get in the doors because hovering in the doorways were all the motorbike delivery with their backpacks all queuing to get the takeaway orders from the takeaway counter.
Gosh.
They have a counter where you can pick up things.
Okay.
Click and collect. Well, you had to fight your way past them to get
bizarre.
through the
I've never
doors.
seen that.
No.
Gosh. So would you have takeaways here, Janet?
Well, I can get them from my village.
Yeah.
The danger for me would be I'd have to order a portion and a portion and a portion. Because you can't just have the curry, you've got to have the rice, you've got to have the onion barges and the poppadoms. Gosh, I'm going to have a takeaway tonight.
Me too.
We're convincing ourselves.
Jamie's not in tonight.
Oh, no, you do it tonight then.
I'm proper northern. I get chips with mine as well. I get embarrassed when I'm ordering.
With the curry.
Them just rolling their eyes.
Oh, I love it. How funny. So is it something you guys would do?
Yes, we do quite a lot, to be honest. It's just the two of us, and quite often, probably once a week actually, pizza, and then sometimes we're getting Indian as well, because that's really, really high in calories. I do try to be good. You know how you're saying, I wish I was a takeaway person. I wish I wasn't.
It's true, isn't it? It's easily done.
And so does my stomach.
Yeah. We've had some interesting experiences recently with takeaways, I have to say. So a few weeks ago, I won't name particular restaurants and things, but a few weeks ago we decided we were going to have a takeaway, and my husband's never used Glovo, but I've used it a couple of times when I've been on my own, because he's the cook, you see. So I said, oh, Glovo's really good because it's really convenient, and they're supposed to be really quick and everything. So we looked up this particular restaurant and thought it looked really expensive. So we looked on the restaurant's website, and the price difference was unbelievable. So just as an example, this particular sushi that I was looking at was €17 on Glovo, and exactly the same dish going through the restaurant was 13.
Wow, that's a big difference.
Quite a massive difference. So straight straight away my husband said, no, we're going direct with the restaurant. Okay, made perfect sense. Except we had to wait an hour, over an hour, and I've never waited that long. And in fairness, I mean, we're being very lazy. It was a Sunday and a pyjama type day. It was like walking distance from our house. About 10-15 minute walk, but walking distance all the same. So yeah, and then something which I've never seen before. I didn't realise there was €5 on the bill added as some kind of, it didn't say delivery charge, but it was like service charge, whatever. I paid €3 tip to thank the guy for delivering it, even though we waited over an hour. And then stupidly, too late, looked at the bill, realised there was a €5, so I paid €8 extra. So I paid €40 for 3 items.
Ooh.
And felt quite sick with it, and it was horrible as well. And there were 3 dishes that I'd had before and absolutely loved. So I know they do it well, but I don't know whether a different chef or whatever. The whole experience was really upsetting and disappointing and expensive. Exactly. So. Takeaway's great when it works.
I think there's a real difference, not so much here, but in the UK, I know that people really do sort of, it's that culture now where you just order it, even if it's down to shopping or to food or something like this. So it wouldn't surprise us that people, I mean, I would never order a banana, come on.
I know, that's so weird, isn't it? I can't get my head around all of that.
If you're pregnant, you've got a craving, I can kind of see it.
But
maybe. Rather, get up and go to the shop.
Yes, exactly. I don't get that. I can't imagine ever doing that. White wine, kind of more understandable.
I'll be honest, I would order that. Dine a drink.
But yeah, I don't know if you could do that here. I've not seen any kind of service like that.
I'm not sure. I once lived in the Middle East, and that was quite normal to call your local shop.
Okay.
Kind of be like not a big supermarket. It was a small one in your area, and people used to call up for and deliver just random bits of shopping.
Yeah.
I've just thinking about it. Uber Eats do have a section, and just thinking about the Deer supermarket. There's always delivery drivers picking stuff up in there. And one day, sadly, he just had a loaf of a baguette, and a packet of ham, and this guy was delivering that somewhere, and you just think, really?
Yeah, it seems a bit
extreme.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a fantastic service for people who can't get out.
Absolutely.
That's great. That you can order your whole shopping online. So whether it's a small shop or a big shop, I think that's really helpful. It's a wonderful service to provide for people. But just being, I mean, I can't say about being lazy because I was myself a few weeks ago. So I get it. It can happen. Okay. When you're hosting a dinner party, there are certain do's and don'ts, and it seems the most important one is don't ever tell your guests what's gone on in the kitchen. A survey has revealed that 1 in 6 of us have served food that's been dropped on the floor. 28% of us have tasted food directly from a spoon we're cooking with, then stuck it straight back into the pot, known as double dipping. Almost a third of people have knowingly served up food past its sell-by date, and even more have wiped down a bread knife and put it back in the rack rather than washing it. Oh dear. Oh dearie dearie.
I'm sitting here sort of thinking there's a lot of things I'd rather not share, just in case there's anybody listening. We actually had friends round last night, and I did a really basic supper, and it was very basic, sausage and mash. That's my death row meal. I love sausage and mash. Love it.
Yeah.
So I did this, but I was sharing with the ladies before. Our friend, who will remain nameless, dropped a bit of carrot on the floor at the dining table, said, "Oh dear, I've dropped that, put it back." We thought just on her side somewhere, but when we took the plate away, it had gone, so she ate the carrot.
There you go.
The shame of it.
Was she rule? Exactly 3-second rule. I was going to say, she trusted the cleanliness of your floor, so I take it as a compliment.
She was pulling bits of hair out of it. But anyway,
the fact that she only had half a sausage and half a lump of mash, and she was blooming starving.
Yeah,
exactly.
That carrot was calling to her.
It's reminding me, my grandma always used to pick it up and eat it, and I remember when I was little, I'd be like, "Well, Grandma," and she'd be like, "Oh no, it's a," and she, I guess because of the generation and everything, she'd say, "No, there's starving children in Africa," that kind of thing.
Yeah,
it's not dirty, just it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it.
I was at a friend's for a Sunday lunch, there was 4 of us invited, and you could smell the dish that was cooking away in the oven. It smelt delicious, a slow-cooked, meaty dish. And we sat there waiting for it. And as he got it out of the oven, he hadn't quite got hold of the dish and did a little stumble, and half the dish sort of tipped on the floor. And you know, we all looked to one side. I mean, the kitchen was right. They were all like...
So everybody saw it?
Part of you is thinking, oh, should we just help him pick it up and put it on the plates? Oh, what can you do? Anyway, just leave it. And my stomach was saying, oh, that's a shame.
Yeah.
And I was looking at all this food on the floor.
Oh,
and I thought, if I was at home, would I have just picked it up off the floor?
It's an interesting one. I have to say, personal experience on a similar thing. Years ago, not that long ago, 5-6 years ago, something like that, I decided I wanted to make a trifle for Christmas. And I was really excited. You know, whenever I decide to get experimental in the kitchen, it normally doesn't work. So it was quite brave of me to take this on. And I, you know, went to all the effort and found the right recipe, got all the ingredients. I made it. It looked great. And I was really impressed. And my husband was impressed. Anyway, I put it in the fridge, and at one stage opened the fridge and it fell out. The glass bowl smashed. The whole thing was... yeah. So, I mean, it was completely... I mean, the fact there was glass, there's no... But yeah, if it wasn't glass, I was thinking, well, could we retreat? I mean...
Just grab a spoon and go
Exactly. I was like, I was so tempted. I cried. I actually cried. I was
not surprised.
It was the prettiest thing I'd ever made, and then it ended up on the floor.
As long as it's the top layer and you don't go too near the floor, it's fine.
I've just thought of another time, actually, when my husband made a big pizza outside on like the barbecue oven outside, and we'd got everything set up to eat it outside. It was all nice, all romantic, but some flowers there, bottle of wine, and then it was so funny. It wasn't at the time, but we knew we'd laugh afterwards. He tripped on the stairs.
Oh no!
Again, the whole thing ended up on the front, and there's nothing you could do. It was pizza, so it was just, it was quite a thin pizza, so it was literally upside down on the floor, and we both went off for God's sake. So we ended up sitting there with a bottle of wine and a packet of crisps. Such a shame.
Oh dear.
Made a good story then.
So every anniversary, do you repeat that with pizza and trifle?
No, I haven't tried a trifle since, actually. I might think about it in a future year. Okay, we better take a break, I guess.
Hannah Murray on TRE in the afternoon.
Good afternoon. You're listening to Women Talk. With me in the studio today is Janet Barnett, Beverly Stonehewer and Natalie Dowd. Called Gary and upset about your name? You're not alone. Parents can spend weeks pondering over names for their children, but at least 1 in 10 of us hate our titles in adulthood, with the Nigels, Garys and Tracys of this world the least happy. A study found 12% of adults hate their name, with 2 in 5 moaning it's too outdated and a fifth saying it makes them sound like a commoner. How do we all feel about our names?
I like your name, and I am Beverly. I don't know. I can be Bev some days, Beverly. Jamie sometimes calls me Bev when he's not so happy with me, Beverly. And Mum and Dad were also like one time Beverly. So yeah, but I do. I've never really had a nickname.
No,
I had my CB handle, Boogie Shoes, Breaker 19 for a copy. Anyone got your ears on, good buddy? It's Boogie Shoes here. What's your handle?
love that.
I still have my You Have Just Eyeballed Boogie Shoes badge.
Really?
Well, did you ever?
Oh, amazing. I never knew that.
Well, yeah, many times.
There you go. So you're happy with your name?
Yes, yeah.
Janet?
I don't mind my name, Janet.
Good.
What I don't like being called is Jan.
Okay.
And of all things, it's my eldest sister that calls me Jan.
Oh, really?
And it's my name.
She do it on purpose, do you
Janet.
think?
I think she probably does.
Right.
She's been the older sister. She can call me what she likes, I suppose. But at school, I was Jam Jar because I was Janet Jarvis. Well, where Jam Jar came from, because perhaps I looked like a jam jar.
Oh, no.
But I was called Jam Jar.
Jam Jar.
But I'm Janet, not Jan.
Janet.
And I'm Natalie, not Nat. But no, everybody does call me
Everyone
Nat.
calls you Nat,
I'm over it now.
Oh, do you not? Are you not that fond of it then?
I mean, it doesn't really bother me too much. I mean, my youngest brother calls me Nits, so...
Yeah.
May we ask why?
It's better than that. And at least I'm not called Apple. I mean, come on, there's kids in the world with really random names.
Yeah.
So I think probably the more traditional... it's probably better. Especially, can you imagine going for a job and saying,
being Apple.
"Hi, what's your name?" Apple. No, not what you're having for lunch, love. What's your name?
I know. I don't understand how parents can call their kids these kind of names that they're obviously going to get the mickey taken out of them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just cruel, isn't it? Let's face it. But I've had, Hannah, Han, sometimes H. Some people call me H. I'm fine with it all. But I get if someone doesn't like their name, I get. My mum changed her name by deed poll.
Did she really?
Yeah. She was Jennifer,
I like
Jenny, Jen, and changed it to Wren. And she was so she was happy with changing it. So you can, instead of being miserable with it, I believe it's quite simple. I always remember the scene in Friends when Phoebe goes to change her name when she gets married, and she goes in and she says, "So should I have it like?" What's her name? Phoebe. So Hannigan Buffet or Buffet Hannigan? What's like the best way to do it? And the guy says, "However you want." And she says, "Well, not whatever I want, just whichever way the surname should go." And he says, "No, literally whatever you want." And she says, "Well, I could be anything." "Yes, anything." And she's like, "Oh, this is interesting." And she changes it to Princess Consuela Banana Hammock.
What would we change our names to?
Yeah, exactly. It could be anything in the whole wide world.
Well, my middle name was Frances, and I was always told that I was named after Sir Francis Drake.
Okay,
because we had this thing of the Golden Hind, one of those plaster things hanging on the wall,
right?
Which was a thing in those days, and I thought that was wonderful.
Yeah,
but it turned out it was the lady next door. My middle name was the lady next door because she was so helpful.
Oh, that's sweet. I like Frances as a female name, actually. Yeah, really nice. My family. My dad's dad was Frank, and there was a Frances as a middle name as well. And but I like Frances as a woman's name. Yeah, really nice. So none of us would change our name then.
Not right now. Possibly my surname.
She didn't mean it. She was joking.
A little wink went on there.
Okay, this is an interesting one about dogs, but it doesn't have to be about dogs. I would relate it to cats. But the headline reads, "Why I Believe We All Have a Soul Dog." It may sound fanciful, but in this emotionally raw piece, one author argues that however many dogs you have over a lifetime, there's always one, like her beloved Wolfie, with whom you share a unique spiritual connection.
I can really identify with that.
Can you?
I had, obviously I've had lots of animals, I've loved them all, growing up and things. But I had Holly, and not so long ago, this is a bit sad, but my dad passed away, and then Holly very quickly afterwards passed away as well. So I was really upset and humming and hawing whether to get a dog or not. Anyway, of course I did. And on the way to go and get her, I was thinking, will I call her Lola or Luna? We got lost on the way and ended up... It was sort of a turning point where you'd have to reverse and come back out.
Yeah.
And the name of the house was Casa Lola. And then driving up, there was loads of butterflies that came. Wow. And her original name was Victoria, which obviously relates to my workplace. So I thought it's just, when something's absolutely meant to be.
Yeah.
And I totally recommend it if you ever need a healing heart. Anyway, moving on from that. It's a little bit sad. But she is lovely, and she's my soul doggy, as was Holly.
That's so nice.
Yeah.
That's so nice. It's amazing to have such a strong connection with an animal. I think we're really privileged to have that. And, having had lots of pets as well, cats particularly, had a good relationship with all of them. But Nelly was definitely a really special one. I mean, he used to speak. He'd bark. He was a cat, but he'd go like that, make these really funny noises, and the typical things that when you come home and you have a dog, your dog will run down the stairs and will run round in a circle, and the tail will be wagging, really happy to see you. Whereas a cat barely moves its head, because they're much more independent. And this cat Nelly would run down the stairs, meow 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 meow, literally like hi, you're home. It was unbelievable. So Nelly was a real special one.
Well, I have a special dog, which was my dog called Max, and he was my dog. We had a dog when we were little, but this was the first dog that I've had from a puppy.
Yeah,
and I loved him to bits, and I still do, and I still talk to him. His pictures by the side, and I sometimes ask him things like, Max,
how lovely!
It's pathetic.
Oh,
they can't see.
pathetic. He's your soul dog.
He's my soul dog, and I've got a little dog now that has got a lovely soul, but he's not ever going to be my Max dog.
No, and that's fine. And we have another cat now who's adorable. But yeah, he
adopted you, hasn't he?
Yeah, totally. We weren't going to have another cat after Nellie because we were absolutely devastated. And this cat appeared in the garden, and you couldn't go near her. Hissing at you. And slowly but surely, PJ said, you'll never be able to pick her up. Not only do I pick her up now, but she sleeps on our bed every night. I mean, it's within a year. It's taken not quite a year, but yeah, amazing. So she found us, this one.
Well, we had a little Yorkie called Devon, and she was born 9 months before, after we got married. And it was like... all very I know that sounds mad, but
it doesn't.
She was our fur baby.
Yeah.
And and she was. I normally get quite emotional when I talk about this, but no. It's just so. Yes, it's a yes from me about this. But the whole thing about when she passed away, and I was like, oh please, if there's anything out there, please do not. I do not want to have to take her to the vets to put her to sleep.
Yeah.
And then as I was driving home, Jamie called and he said, oh. Come quick, she's going. And then he said she'd actually passed away, but when she heard my car pull up, she actually came back to life.
Oh, my goodness.
She died once in Jamie's arms and then once in my arms. And Jamie always tells the story about, because I didn't want to sort of, send her on away if she wasn't gone then, thinking she came back. So Jamie loves to tell everybody the story that I made sure by pulling her tongue out. Because we have this little tongue that was like this. But I thought, that way I'll be able to... But, oh, my goodness. So, but yes...
Totally
and they give you so much, don't they?
Can I ask why she was called Devon?
It's quite a funny story. There was a Sky-Fi programme we used to watch, and they had this really sort of amazing lady captain. It was called Earth 2, a silly thing, but she was this very assertive sort of, and we both said, what a lovely name. And she was called Devon O'Dare. So we both really always said, if we ever get a dog, we'll call her Devon.
Oh, I love that.
Not like the cricketer, like Devon.
I was thinking of Devon Toffees or Devon.
All right, yeah.
Well, she was thinking of the county.
Yeah, she was like custard.
Oh,
yeah. So it's a while now, but she's still sort of in my heart.
Yeah, exactly. It's so true what this woman says, that you can have that. I mean, you might have more than one special one, but that one particularly that you feel like you have a proper connection with. It really is amazing. Lovely thing to have. Right, we better take another break.
Welcome to TRE in the Afternoon with Hannah Murray. Proudly sponsored by La Sala Homes, where luxury meets lifestyle in Marbella. Discover more at lasalahomes.com. Hannah Murray. TRE in the Afternoon.
Good afternoon. You're listening to Women Talk. With me in the studio today is Janet Barnett, Beverly Stonehewer and Natalie Dowd. Forget the pool. Families want holiday adventures. Adventurous activity holidays are increasingly being booked by British families who don't just want to laze by a hotel pool. The experiences on offer range from learning new skills on the Bear Grylls Survival Academy in Greece to hiking the Inca Trail in Peru. So think of your own family holidays when you were a child, or holidays with your own kids, or whatever kind of examples. Would you have liked to have done adventurous holidays?
No way.
Did you? No.
I think it depends on what type of children you've got, and if they're the type that need to constantly have activity. But give me a pool and a swim at bar any day.
Absolutely.
Obviously responsibly with your child. I think it depends on what sort of lifestyle you have. So if you're a really busy working mum, the last thing you're going to want to do is traipse around. It's like when you go on sort of theme park holidays, you feel like you need a holiday by the time you get back. And I think sometimes people just like to switch off. I certainly would. But I don't know, maybe nowadays it's a little bit easier to be able to relax because you're not having to do so much activity, because there's all sorts of things like iPads and phones and all this sort of thing.
Would you have liked it as a kid?
As a child, probably, but... Well, I don't know, you know, because if you've got a pool and you don't come from a country where it's really warm, how exciting! You're just in the pool until lunch, get out, eat, back in the pool when you're allowed so that you don't get a cramp.
Yeah, exactly. Pool is fun enough, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Janet, what do you remember childhood holidays?
Well, we actually had our childhood holiday was a day to Brighton on the train.
Nice.
Yes, it was good, and that was enough for us. The build-up for it.
Yeah.
Had to get a bus to the train station, and the train station. And if anybody knows Brighton train station, it's a very long way to walk down to the sea. Mm-hmm. You think you can see the sea? No, not yet. You can see the sea? No, not yet. So it's a long way to walk down. But that was our holiday, and that was enough. And yes, we could go in the paddling pool on Brighton Beach. Didn't go in the sea; it was too cold. But I think the last holiday I had with my sister's children, for example. We went on a family holiday and they wanted to do games. Like, we were lucky there was a pool, there was a tennis court, but it was rubbish. But we had to play competitive games. And that was
physical games or like round the table?
Well, sort of tennis and keepy-uppy football. And,
wow, right.
And it was like... It went over my head. I just had to sit and count. I was keeping score.
Oh, brilliant!
Don't get me doing that.
So you got involved.
I did in my own way.
So with the rest of the family, the adults and the kids, they were all doing those kind of games.
Yeah, running games up and down the pool. Well, you just get in the pool and go. Ugh. But no, they were doing who could get up that end quicker and who could pass that ball up the other end and throwing hoops over each other. So.
Again, I mean, that goes back to Natalie. It depends on the kids. If the kids want to be entertained and, you know, some kids are just happy playing on their own or with their brother or sister or with other kids, and others are like, Mummy, watch me, Mummy, let's do handstands, let's do this, let's do, you know, all that kind of stuff. And it's, you have to adapt, I guess.
My holidays were very happy. We'd go caravanning. We had a little touring caravan, so we'd pack up the Afghan hound, have her sitting. One holiday I'll never forget, we were going and we chopped her tail off in the door. So that ended up being a trip to the vets, but always very memorable. Always very memorable.
I'm sure it was for her as well.
For Martha, named after my great-grandmother. But our holidays, I mean, Dad was sort of like, he may as well have been a redcoat or something, because he used to get all the kids together on these. We used to go to the same caravan park every year for about 3 weeks, and Dad would organise crabbing competitions, cricket on the beach, tennis tournaments, football tournaments.
Oh, wow.
And we'd have fun. It was always great.
Yeah,
really
brilliant.
nice. And then pop down to the club in the evening. Of course, kids weren't really allowed in. You had to be out at a certain time. They'd have a little session for the children, dancing competitions. So it was just all go.
Yeah.
I think my mum and dad, you know, I think they used to play cards when we'd gone to bed in the little bunk beds.
Yeah.
And then we'd do cockling as well. Jam, we'd pick strawberries at Sandringham Estate, and it was lovely.
Oh, I wish
really
I'd had
nice.
your childhood.
Well, you know what Dad's like. He likes to be occupied.
Full energy.
Love it. Well, I'm an only child, so I didn't have a brother or sister to play with, and we used to go on kind of Eurocamp holidays. So it was camping around Europe, but they provide the tent, and it's a big tent with like zip-up bedrooms. Ooh. So there'd be a double bed in
glamping.
I guess you'd call it that. Yeah, but I mean, it didn't seem posh. It was just big. You know, it wasn't like a tiny tent. You could stand up in it basically, and it had like a mini fridge and a little stove, so you could cook for yourself. It had a plastic table and chairs that you could either have inside the tent or outside if the weather was nice. But you didn't it was all put up for you. You know, it was all organised so you could. So we'd go to have like a 3-week holiday and stay. So Mum and Dad would drive all around different parts of Europe, and we'd visit kind of 5 or 6 countries. We'd do like a night in northern France, night in the middle of France, go across to Austria, and
fantastic.
That sounds brilliant.
Really nice. And some of them are more geared to kids with kids clubs. Some are more adult. And so we'd always go to ones, obviously, with kids' activities, and I'd always go in the pool and make friends with someone from a different country. You know, we couldn't speak each other's languages, but we'd play together, and then the adults would meet, and mum would become friends with the other mum, and one of them actually came to visit Dad and I a few months ago.
Wow, that time ago.
Yeah,
that's so lovely.
And that came from me and her kids meeting in a swimming pool somewhere in Spain, northern Spain, somewhere years ago. So that was really nice. So yeah, loved it. Loved all those kind of. But the idea of going on an activity holiday is different to going on holiday where there's lots of different kind of things you can do, as opposed to having to do an activity every day.
Yes, yeah. I wonder if people still, you know, because we've all mentioned caravans. I went as well when I was young. We used to go to the caravan, and because of the accessibility of so many different types of holidays, I wonder if people do still do that, where they have, you know, go to the caravan. I wonder, or on a touring caravan maybe.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. Yeah, absolutely. They're still going strong, aren't they? All the caravan parks and things.
My hairdresser actually has. Little Spanish hairdresser has one, a little static down in Capapino, and she'll go down there because they have the kids club all year long, and it's a great way for her kids to enjoy.
Yeah, it's a great thing. Okay. Just half of parents read to their young children every day, and almost a quarter do not chat to them. A poll of 2,000 parents of preschoolers by the National Literacy Trust found fewer adults are engaging in literacy activities since the pandemic.
Shocking,
yeah. It's part of the bedtime routine. Would be, well, certainly for me it was with Chelsea. You know, you'd have a bath and then you go in and you sit and you read them a story. But I suppose nowadays you can, you know, you've got a television, you've got stories on audio. So it's just so we're maybe losing that a little bit.
Yeah, and it's such a bonding thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, putting on the voices and making the story a little bit more exciting, so you can use your imagination a lot more as well. It's a shame.
Real shame.
I think it's true though. Children read less books, which is, to me, is when you don't use their imagination in their head. It's all being fed into them from the screens. But if you read a book, you're imagining what you're reading. And it's a shame that they're losing that. I know in London they have National Book Day where they do give out books, children's books, at all strategic points, or they just leave them on benches and that. And that's a good thing.
Yeah, there's various initiatives they have to
have a go at it.
I read today that Australia are banning social media for under 16s. It's going to be a blanket ban.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's quite interesting, isn't it?
That's amazing. That really is amazing. I mean, that will be tough for the ones that are already under 16 that have already been using social media for the last year or so. That would be really tough.
Very much so.
For generations who haven't had it yet, they won't know any different. But for the ones that have had it, that suddenly get it taken away, that will be weird. But no, I don't know. There's a part of me that thinks that's a great idea.
Yeah.
But
it's a bit difficult to police. But
very difficult. I don't know how they would police that.
It just popped up as one of those sort of news flashes. I don't even know where it came from, so it could be false news as well.
No, I heard it. I did hear it on the radio news. So they're trying to make it law, and it'd be law within a year or something like that.
Well, they're also trying to stop children having mobile phones at school. In the UK, they've sort of coming into certain areas or certain schools. I can't
believe they haven't got it already. I mean, it amazes me.
All in.
But I mean, that they'll all say, parents particularly more than the kids probably will say, oh no, we need it to be able to get if there's an emergency, or if they can't get home, or if there's, if kids are getting home on their own with public transport, for example, in London particularly, if there's a tube strike or whatever, that they'll need their phones for that. I mean, it's just the fact that we all did it without, that we know that it is possible. But again, it's one of those, if you're used to having it to suddenly not, it's like, oh no, but we need the phone because we need to be able to communicate. It's a tricky one. I think if these things are put in place from the start, then you don't know what you're missing. But to take things away from people, even parents doing it with their kids at home, if they've always allowed their kids to use their mobile devices at the dinner table, for example, and that's always been okay, and suddenly the parents think, you know what, I think we should stop this and say from now on, no devices around the dinner table. that would take a while to be okay, I reckon, because the kids would kick off because they're used to being able to doing it.
Well, as a family, we did try that. Like, for example, at Christmas, or a gathering, it was don't bring the mobile phones, turn them off, and then the conversation the conversation goes on. You're talking about something. Oh, what was the name of that? Do you remember that?
So and the adults want to Google it.
The first person then is to go, I'll just look on my phone, and that's the start of it. Okay, because we're so used to going, all right, I'll look it up on Google.
Exactly. It's difficult. It can often be the adult. Oh, absolutely. It'll be the adults that will reach for their phones a lot of the time. There is, funnily enough, an article all about being on the phones. We better take the last ad break first and then we'll come back with it.
You're listening to TRE in the Afternoon with Hannah Murray. Brought to you by the Clubhouse by Sulla. Get ready to eat, drink, watch and play at the ultimate sports venue on the coast. Find out more at clubhousemarbella.com. Hannah Murray. TRE in the Afternoon.
Good afternoon. You're listening to the last part of Women Talk. With me in the studio today is Janet Barnett, Beverly Stonehewer and Natalie Dowd. So this article goes on from what we've just been talking about, basically. The headline reads, most teens want to cut screen time but don't know how to. And I read that and thought, what? Well, just put your phone away. But no, it goes slightly deeper than that. So it says smartphones are breeding a generation of lonely, anxious and isolated children who do not know how to stop using them. A quarter of 11 to 18-year-olds spend the majority of their free time outside school watching videos, searching online or scrolling through social media. Over half of these, 52%, wanted to break their addiction and reduce their screen time, but many lacked the knowledge or facilities to do this. Again, I was sort of struggling to understand what they mean. They go on to say the message from young people is overwhelmingly clear. They want to ditch smartphone dependency and socialise in person, but feel trapped in a habit that is leaving them lonely, isolated and anxious. We're letting young people down by treating time outside school as an afterthought and not creating enough opportunities in real life that are better than life on screens. It's all about what they're used to, I think, again, isn't it?
I think it's the stimulation as well. So even people do, double screening. So when you're watching a film, you're on your phone as well. I'm guilty of it, I have to be honest. But sometimes, I do think it's like we need more stimulation because we're so used to having so much in front of us. So I'd imagine for a teenager, of course it's going to be hard. They're going to feel like they're missing out.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can feel like your social life is on there. If you can't get out and about, or some people have stricter parents, you can feel like you've been somewhere by following what they're doing. But it's a worry, I think, that you have to live your life through that because it does stop the ability of having a conversation. There is an art to a conversation.
Yeah.
Even down to like text messaging, the way that people write. It's so different because you might write it how you say it, or, as opposed to writing a letter where you would have to make the time to make it a little bit proper, if you like.
Yeah. And the last part of the article talks about the fact that it's maybe that the parents aren't giving the kids enough to do, of a weekend, let's say, not necessarily every weeknight on a school night, but over the weekend. If you haven't got activities planned, even if that's going to the shop or going for lunch somewhere or going to look at go to a museum or whatever it might be, something that's engaging and interesting and fun, ideally, for the child. If you're just staying at home, then it's likely that the child is going to be on their devices unless they have plans with friends and all that kind of stuff. So they're sort of saying, which again isn't always easy, and parents again will have their own lives and own things going on. So it's a lot of responsibility, isn't it?
But to have to plan an activity. Do you remember when you were younger? What you're doing, you're just playing out. You just go out.
You just
come
go
back
out
when it's dark or when your tea's ready.
Yeah.
Or dinner, depending on where you're from.
Tea.
But yeah, and I remember we didn't particularly have an activity or
no, you just
went out and hung out, yeah, or played in the street.
Yeah, exactly.
Keep your uppies.
Keep your uppies. Yeah, kids still must do that. There is still, kids playing out in the street. But a lot of the time, sometimes they're there on their phones.
They're all out together with each of them with their faces at the screens.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know well, I've got a 13-year-old great niece, is the way to put it, and she's quite insular. She's an only child, quite insular, and they do lots of things at the weekend. So they will go somewhere, like they went to the British Library, which to me would be very uninteresting. But when they're not sort of on the activity, she is then on the phone.
Yeah.
So like travelling there, she's on the phone and stop for a tea or coffee or
and then she'll be on
dinner.
The phone. Yeah.
She's on the phone. I don't know who she's on the phone to. I don't think she's interacting with anybody. She's just on the phone. So that's even more insular. So you're trying to make somebody interact or help somebody interact. But the screen is always that pull.
It's again, once they've started, and you know, I'm sure we've experienced it ourselves as adults. It's not saying kids are bad and addicted to the phones and we're great and not. It's definitely not that. But once you get into the routine of doing it, whether it's checking Facebook or Instagram or checking the news or playing games or TikTok or whatever it might be, even if it's deemed to be educational, if it's something you're doing regularly or chatting to your mates on WhatsApp or Snapchat or all these different things, once you get into that life, that way of life, it's difficult to get out of it, because if you're chatting to your friends regularly and then you just stop, your friends will be like, what's the matter with her? Why is she... So you think, if you're used to replying to them, you feel like you have to always keep replying to them. Yes. Otherwise you have to explain why you haven't replied to them straight away. You're not in a mood, you're not annoyed with them, you're just not allowed to be on your phone, or you're watching a film with your parents and you can't be on the phone, but you need to tell them that that's what you're doing before you... It's difficult to just to stop the habit, isn't it?
Jamie always says about youth clubs. He was he loved going to his youth club, and he said they've just basically stopped doing them, and it's awful, isn't it? And maybe that's why perhaps the activity holidays are a good idea for families, because it will get them to ditch it. But I'm like Natalie, I remember, Mum shouting out, tea time, come on now, and it was lovely, lovely.
And then you'd come in.
Yeah.
But I mean, what did we do? Sometimes it was just standing around chatting, but sometimes it was games. It was
hopscotch,
like hide and seek or hopscotch,
Kirby.
What's
Did you ever
Kirby?
do that? So you're on either side of the road and you've got a ball and you've got to hit it off the curb, and so that it comes back to you.
Oh yeah, I like the sound of that.
We used to play record shops as well.
What's record shops?
Well, there wasn't actually a shop involved. I don't know why we called it that. So basically, it was more like a quiz, just asking who sung this song.
Sort of thing. Yeah, I'd like that.
Tiggy on the white lines. So there used to be white lines. Well, this was in the play yard, and we used to chase each other, and you weren't allowed to leave the lines, so you had to run. Yeah.
And if you fell, you got all bits of that gravel in your knees.
Yeah.
You got to have a gravelly knee once in a while.
Absolutely.
What was the game where there was somebody standing at one end and you had to get past them?
Bulldog.
Bulldog, yeah. Didn't they call British Bulldog?
British Bulldog.
Yeah.
I mean, that could be quite rough. I wonder if they still play it now. We did it in
not
PE.
allowed to.
Can we do it with 4 of us? Let's do it after this.
Yeah, let's put a really long song on and just start playing.
You can see what's happening in here.
I like the one that they did. They actually did it on what was the name of the Korean program?
Squid Game.
Squid Game. Oh. They actually did it on that. The first game on that, but we did it at school without people being killed, obviously. where you've got someone that turns round and you have to move closer to them, but when they turn round, you've got to. If you see them moving, then they're out.
What's the time, Mr. Wolf?
Yeah, what's the time, Mr. Wolf? Yeah,
brilliant. I love that.
And then they had to get. That was really good.
Dinner time. Dinner time. It was great.
Oh, what's the time, Mr. Wolf? Good times, good times. Okay. We've got 3 minutes left. Almost 1 in 10 children are classified as obese by the time they start school, and more pile on excess weight during their education, with this figure doubling to 1 in 5 when they leave primary. Health experts have warned that high levels of obesity are a time bomb for the future, with heavier children more likely to be overweight as adults. Is this as simple as it's the parents' fault for feeding them too much?
Absolutely not.
No,
it's what goes into
either.
the food. All of the hormones and all of these sort of things that they put in, that's going to put weight on. Accessibility to food is so easy. It's cheaper to have not as healthy food. And processed food is... Everything is processed, and not everybody has the time to make a meal from scratch. I think there's a lot of that involved as well. So yeah, I think it's never as simple as that.
No.
I have to say, looking at the children in my village all running around, and when you go past the school run and they're all running to school, there don't seem to be many obese children.
Oh, good.
In Spain, I don't think.
No.
I mean, I'm not seeing the older ones, I'm seeing the younger ones. I think because they're out, as soon as they're in, they're
exactly.
outside.
But again, I've noticed, lots of my friends' kids of a young age, particularly, are excited about doing sports and after-school activities. But not every child is automatically going to be like that. And again, that makes a difference. If you've got kids that love doing sport, and that they might have 4 or 5 different sport activities, a week, something different every night, and they love that. Then again, that's totally different. And but not every kid is naturally sporty.
I was always picked last at school.
Always.
Even by my best friend, who was really, really good at netball. I'm still bitter.
Well, you can't make a kid be sporty, can you? You can't say you must go to football twice a week and you must do rugby and you must do cricket, and if they really don't want to and they're not into it.
I can remember having a tennis lesson.
Yeah.
A tennis lesson at school, and I was not very good at it. And the teacher saying, Janet, you go to the other side of the net and I'll hit you a ball and you hit it back. Well, I did what she told me to do and obviously didn't hit it back very well. And she said, that's how not to do it. Now, and I know the girl's name. Now, Matilda, I call her Matilda. Now, Matilda, you go to the other side of the net and show it how it should be done. And I stood there, I thought, well, I'm never going to bloody hit a tennis ball back again in my life.
Yeah, exactly.
Matilda.
It's the wrong way to.
Her name
it's
was
the
Maggie,
wrong way
actually.
to do Maggie.
Oh.
Yeah, we'll shame her.
Yeah, Maggie.
Yeah, it's the wrong way to do it, isn't it? What teachers and parents, but what teachers say to kids can affect you for the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
Yes, I've never played tennis.
Yeah, you see. Oh, we're at the end of the show now. Well done, ladies. Let's go and play tennis, Janet. Thank you to Janet, Beverly and Natalie. Thank you all very much for coming in today. Have a lovely weekend.
You've been listening to a TRE production. If you've enjoyed this programme, there'll be another episode waiting for you next week, right here on this platform, where you can also access our extensive back catalogue of shows and interviews. For more information on our live programming, social media channels and apps, and how to contact Talk Radio Europe, please visit tre.radio.